Okay, so basically the like reason why I ask you all about your aim, because now you already everyone has a pretty good idea about who is doing what. Okay, so basically I see three or four are there who are from architecture, and most of you are from civil. One is from higher studies, and someone is doing job. That's good. Okay, so basically we are having a like wide range of participants here. I'll not tell you like students, because maybe many of you are older than me. So let's call us participants. I'm also a learner. Maybe in this thing, maybe I'm an older learner and you are a newer, but obviously every one of us are learner, right? I'm learning day by day. So going to the introduction part, basically now we already have a pretty good idea about what we are doing here, right? So if I take you through the internship overview, I have put here the three parts that I'll be covering, not all of the parts, because the architects he will be covering different things and the softwares. So I have showed you only the three sections I'm going to touch. Okay, so the first is the client dealing part. Second is the theory of planning, and the third one is drafting. That is like working with the software basically. Okay, so today we'll be discussing about client dealing. Okay, so this is one of my favorite part, because in business this is a like must-have thing. Okay, and this is something nobody will like teach you. You have to like because I learned this by like reading so many books and watching different videos, and most importantly listening to podcasts. This is something personal advice I will give you to all. You might be already using different apps and all that. So there are some apps like Spotify. You can listen to podcasts. Okay, so what is a podcast? Podcast is basically nothing but audio, audio lectures and all that. So what happens that even if you are doing something else, maybe you are working with software or doing something, even cooking or driving your car and all that, but you can listen to podcast. So there is a lot of benefit of like listening to podcasts, because they have really deep conversations. Maybe you don't have enough time to watch a 1 hour video, but you can easily listen to a 1 hour podcast, like when you are doing something else. Okay, so these are my 1.5 hour, 1.5 years learning, which I'm going to sum up in front of you right now. So I have broken down this client dealing thing into four parts. First, I decided that I would teach you this particular part at the end of the internship, but I also realized that there are some portions and things which you need to understand before taking a job from the client. So basically today we'll learn nothing about architecture, but a little bit about business and more about like how to understand the client. So the first part, this starts with the homework before meeting. I say that be prepared always. Even if you are going to a shopping mall, even if you are walking down the streets or going to the college, everywhere, be prepared always. If you are doing freelancing or heading to becoming an entrepreneur, like you are doing some stuff side by side alongside your job or your education, so you should always be prepared to, anyone can be a client. Okay, anyone can ask you on the road, and even that, okay, you do this, then I have something like this, how will you charge me? So how will you reply him? Okay, and these business things and talks, this like take fraction of seconds. If he is showing interest, then immediately reply him. Okay, so there is something you need to do on a daily basis. So what homework should you do? First of all, be prepared mentally and physically. Okay, before a meeting. Then collect a brief background about the client. When you are like having a client meeting, maybe he or she have booked a appointment with you, or maybe you are going to visit him or her. So before going to him or her, collect a brief background about the client, like how is the client, what is his choice, maybe the most important thing, what is his economical status, maybe everything, every idea or information you might not get already. Yeah, you have to understand that through the conversation itself. but still you try to at least basically like what he does actually, what is his occupation, what is his like living style and social, all those things. Just a brief idea about the client. It helps you a lot while you are talking to the client or dealing with him. Okay. Then obviously the first meeting or the first impression lasts the long. During a project, you will be dealing with a client so many times, number of times, so many number of revisions will be there, so many sittings will be there, discussion and all those things. But your first meeting have the most effective impression. Okay, so be prepared for that. Like dress properly, not like always formal. You can go even in casual and whatever, that is completely your choice. But at least be prepared for it. Okay, and make some left some impression on their mind after the meeting. Then the very important and most important thing, that carry your previous work. If you are new to this field, maybe you haven't done any real project, obviously the first project you'll be doing, then at least carry your the project that you've done in the college or maybe similar to something like that, maybe sample works that you generally practice in your room. Carry your portfolio. Architectural people already know what a portfolio is. If not, let me like you can ask me. They basically work behind their portfolio, and everyone should have a portfolio based on their what they do. Okay, you can carry a brochure if you are associated with any firm or any organization, or if you are willing to start your own firm or organization, at least carry a brochure of that organization. Or even you can, this is brochure is nothing like a portfolio of a company, you can say. At least you can compare those two things, and carry your visiting card or those contact details and all that. This helps you a lot. So this is something pre-setup or pre-work before meeting a client. Then comes the main part, how to deal with a client. Okay, so before I begin, I have written something that the client need you more than you need him or her. This is very important before you going to start any kind of business or freelancing or anything. The client, okay, he or she is gonna build a house or maybe a mansion, a villa, a hospital, school, college, anything, but he needs you most. Okay, don't think like I'm starting very new, I'm new to this field, anyone who will give me this kind of works, I should agree with them. And what can you say that like don't show your eagerness or overconfident to the client. Don't let him understand that you want this project badly. Never do that, because he needs you more than you need him. So basically I have also break it down to some parts, like how to deal with your client. First of all, the same line, your client need you more than you need it. You can actually take down the points now I'll be showing, because each line of this particular slide is an advice. Okay, from my side, and as also the the people I follow, the books I read, I took it down from there. Your client is not your enemy, and you're not your friend as well. So maybe sometimes the client doesn't really understand and value your work, so he or she will be like concerned about the money, and like he will bring comparison like Mr. X or Mrs. X does this at this price, why are you charging for this particular 3D modeling for a single picture, why this much money you are charging me, and all those things. Like he can even like fall into like war with you. Okay, so don't like consider him as your enemy, and don't like also get over friendly with him as well. Just be neutral. Okay, so he's not your enemy or not your friend as well. Then try to understand the exact problem. Listen carefully. What happens that sometimes the client or the person who is coming to you regarding a work, let's suppose it is a interior work. Okay, first exactly listen to his problem. What do you think that all the people who will be coming to you to deal with a interior problem, he or she is really willing to do a interior design? Maybe he has some other problems which he or she thinks that can be solved through interior designing. Are you getting me? What I'm trying to say? Maybe someone has an office and he's not having so much of clients and all that, okay, because his office and all those stuffs look dull, very okay. So he has come to you that let's take an example, Souris, okay. So Souris, he has come to you and asked that, Souris, I want to do a interior designing for my office, okay, and you just listen to that statement and you take down all those necessary things and you start designing. But maybe the reason why he was trying to renovate his office, that was not his exact need. You need to understand first that, so why do you want to go for an interior designing when you are already like have set up your office? Okay, first understand the reason. Maybe the reason will lead you to a better solution. Maybe even it cannot be solved through interior designing, that you can suggest to him also. So always like stand in a position of helping them. Okay, your mindset should never be like that, I'm an interior designer, someone has come to me regarding a problem, okay, I will suggest him any kind of like interior designing and I'll just close the deal and take the money. No, never. Like stand in a position where you really want to help him. At least let him or her understand that you are the person who is trying to help him, not like forcefully selling him. Okay, you are not gonna sell your product to them forcefully, but you are gonna help them. Maybe that help will be through your product or may not be even as well, but at least stand in a position of helping them. These things leave a really good impression. Maybe that you gave him a certain type of solution which is not related to interior designing. Maybe you gave him advice that, sir, I think you need to deal with your sales and marketing, all those stuffs, before you go for an interior designing. And if you really like try to help him after understanding his problem, he gets a really good impression on his mind, and he will again come back to you. Maybe not now, maybe after 1 year or 2 year, but again he will come back to you, and as well as he will like treat you as a advisor, like a person who really wants to help him. So that is very important. Impression is really important in today's world. Okay, so these are basically those business idea and mindset that you need to build within you while you are dealing with a client. So you can take a screenshot of this as well. These are the points, or you can say advice you should keep in mind while starting the conversation. Your attitude should be like this. Okay, now moving forward to the next, that is what data to collect. Now we are like moving a bit towards the technical thing. Okay, so basically the main motto of collecting data from a client is that we need to understand the client's exact need properly. Okay, so there will be a questionnaire round basically. So there are two types of questions you can ask a client. First one is the direct question. Okay, so direct question, what it can be, like you can note down these things also. Like you can ask him that what is your plot dimension, the area where you are gonna build your dwelling, house or office, and whatever it is. So basically even inside a plot, when you are taking plot measurements directly from a client, not from the field, what are the things that you should consider? The length, width and the diagonals. Because with the length and width you cannot plot the exact, if it is not exactly rectangular, you need to have the diagonals, then it's easier for you. And if the client doesn't have the diagonals, ask them that you can show me the the municipality corporation map, you can measure it from there quickly. So you need to have three things at least: length, width and diagonals. Then the direction, the plot, in which direction it is oriented, then maybe in which direction the road or sub road or other thing is there. If there is any kind of obstruction or building around the client's area or field, you need to know these things. Okay, so these are the questions you are going to ask your client directly when you are heading to a meeting. Okay, In a meeting, you should ask these questions. Then the type of building. What type of building is he or she want to like build? Okay, like I'm asking, like I'm suggesting you to ask these questions when there is nothing constructed before that. And if it is already constructed, you can just like visit that, or you can directly ask what are the things. So these are common questions. So what is the type of the building? Is it a residential? It is a commercial place, or is it a office, or some kind of school, or is it a public place and all that? So you need to basically understand the type of building, and the reason why you should know the type of building. Obviously, from the type of building, you will understand the purpose of the building, on which purpose the building is gonna be used. Because based on that, your psychology will work, and you will choose the suitable architectural, or the interior designing styles. Okay. So then the number of people in the family. I should actually correct this point. It should not be family. The number of people who are gonna live in that particular building. Because even if it is an office, you should ask that what are the number of employees. If it is a dwelling, you can ask what is the number of people in your family. Or if it is a school, like the members, or the users of the building. Then there is, if the client is concerned about vastu or not. Because in India, not only in India actually, in foreign and other countries also, they also has this thing of vastu. This is not something which is only considered in India. It is known as vastu in India, but in outside, like in Japan or China, they have different names. I don't exactly remember the name. I will tell you again that name in the next class. But they have also these directional things and all that. Okay, so there are like histories and mythologies behind vastus and all that, but there is also some scientific reasons behind vastu. So apart from that, you can ask him or her, like if you want some kind of parking place, some kind of lawn, if you want a portico or a balcony, all those things. Not only this, like any kind of special requirement if he has, or like regarding the building. Okay, and maybe there are basically some common facilities which you need to already provide. Like, don't go and randomly ask that, sir, how many bedrooms you want, how many bathrooms you want. No, never do that. If the client has something special requirement, he or she will himself tell it. Or you can ask at the end that, do you have any special requirement regarding the rooms and all that. But don't like go with a checklist and like what are the number of bedrooms and all. Don't do that. That's irritating. Okay, because those are common things which is as an architect or as an engineer, you already need to understand and implement those. We'll be teaching you all those, don't worry. And then the last thing, that is budget. So what is your budget? Okay, now here comes a trick that okay, like are you guys like getting what I'm like speaking and what I'm trying to teach? Like, you can respond me if I'm too
Yes,
fast,
sir.
or like, or is it boring, or like
Yes,
have
sir.
you
No,
already learned
no,
this?
it's not boring. Yes.
No, sir. It's not.
No,
Okay,
sir.
No,
No,
sir.
sir. Not at
like
all.
like I think these are things like you are listening this for the first time. Many of you, or maybe those who are unknowingly already doing freelancing, they already asked these questions. Maybe that also. So okay, coming to the budget thing, the budget is a very, not very, but it is the most important thing. Okay, even like even more important than the client requirements actually, because this decides everything at the end. So when you are asking someone about the budget, two things can happen. First of all, maybe the client is already having a budget, and with the budget he has came to you to like give you this particular project. That is good thing, because he already has his expectation and limitations. But then there is a group of people or a particular kind of client who doesn't have a particular budget in their mind. Okay, like someone wants to build a office or build a house, and he just randomly came to you because you are an architect or a civil engineer. So basically he will ask you to do the particular project, but he or she doesn't have a particular idea about what should be the budget, or like no budget at all. Okay, she doesn't have a idea what should be the budget. So at that time what happens, like he or she will randomly tell you a number first thing. Maybe he or she tells you that I have a 5,000 or 10,000 budget, but maybe he or she can also willing to spend 20,000 as well. So the budget you will ask directly, the answer you will be getting, it can be true or can be false. So why is it important for us? We are going to design, right? No, you are not only going to design. If you are doing freelancing, you are also going to take the payment. So from the beginning, you should be aware that whether you are wasting your time, wasting your hard work or your effort, because in this age, we had a lot of dedication, lot of determination, and we can put a lot of hard work in our work. So never waste a single second on behind a client who is not willing to pay you the amount of money you are charging or you are willing to get paid. So how to deal with this budget thing? So here comes the next part, that is the indirect questions. So indirect questions are questions which you will not ask directly, obviously from the name, but you have to understand this from the conversation. So your conversation or your questions, the questionnaire round should be like that, so that you can understand the exact need of the client. Okay, maybe he or she just want to modify his furnitures. Sometimes what happens, a person who is already having an existing house, he or she is already bored with what is built around him. He just want to change the taste. That's why he will hire an architect or an interior designer and ask him or her that I want to modify my place and do interior designing for it. But basically what he is willing to do, he's not going to change the color of the walls and all that. Basically he's desiring that his furniture should be replaced, or maybe 2 3 elements of his house. So you need to exactly understand, or else what will happen, you will do the entire interior designing of his house and all those, and at the end you came to know that he just wanted to replace his furnitures. Okay, so like in the during the conversation you have to understand what the client is exactly needing from you, what is he's looking for. Then the client's real budget. Now, how will you understand the client's real budget? Here comes the trick I'll share with you. Okay. So what can you do when he's not framing you a particular number? Like, sir, this is my budget. He's not telling you that. So what can you do at that time? Like anyone has any kind of suggestion? I'd also like to listen from you guys. The client, just imagine the scenario. The client doesn't have a particular number in his mind, or he or she is confused about what should be the amount, or he or she has no idea about how the interior designers or the architects or the engineers charge. Okay, this happens many of the times. Even with us, it has happened happened in the past many times. So how will you get his subconscious mind, and how will you get that particular number from his mouth? Anyone have any strategy in their mind right now? Can suggest us?
Actually, in my mind, I think, in my opinion, I should be dealing with him like that. A price which is at first I will be knowing his mindset, that how much he's gonna spend. At least he or she will be telling me that I'm gonna spend 20 lakhs or something like that. So I will be first of all taking him to a little bit higher price, so and showing him that what will be the changes if I jump to 20 to 25, and again I will come back to 18 or 17, so that I will get the range where he can vary his budget, and I will get the somehow exact number. from there.
Okay, what I'm understood from you, like what you said, that first you will he will frame a number, then you will throw him a higher number. Then that means you are already saying that I will charge you 25 for this, and then you will come down to a lower price. Okay, that is somehow a good thing. I'll appreciate that. But you know what will happen? The main problem is that if the client is already confused, he doesn't even know. Okay, that what is the number. If he is not framing you any number, then what will you do? So here is a trick. Okay, the trick is that just simply tell him, just sir, what is your budget? So he is not gonna reply you because he is unaware of the numbers and all those, or he or she has no idea about it. So what can you do at that time? You will tell him, sir, okay, I had a similar recent project, very similar to your this project. Okay, and for that project I have charged X amount, 25,000. Okay, so suddenly he will get an idea that maybe my project will also lie somewhere between 25. Now here what is the trick? Because when you are getting to know the particular project, you in your mind you will already having in the calculation, you will understand that if I get this project, I'll charge him 20. Okay, so that is my charge. Maybe I can negotiate and go up to 18, 18, but not less than that. So in your mind, you have a mindset that you're gonna charge him 20. So now here comes the trick. You will say that, sir, as you are not aware of your budget, let me help you with that. We had a similar project where we charged 30 or 25, but your requirements and your project seems to be with less complicacy and all that. So I'm not going to charge you that much, but for you it will be 20. So what happens? This is a psychological thing. First, you put a number in front of the client, that is 25, and then so immediately the client start thinking, okay, so this kind of projects take 25,000 rupees to complete. Okay, so he has a certain kind of expectation or an idea. Before that, he or she had no clue about what should be the charge. But now, at a certain moment, he or she has a particular idea that, okay, so this thing charge 25. Okay, maybe. Then you are telling him that, sir, I will do it for you because this is somehow less complicated. I'll charge you 20. So he gets a reference that you are the person who is charging him 20 for a similar project, which is already charged at 25. So he feels in his subconscious mind that, okay, I am being charged at a good price, or even at a lesser price. And even after that, if she start negotiating with you, you can go up to your limitation and all that. Okay, so that is how you can understand a real budget of a client who is not at all aware of his budget. And if someone has a particular value, okay, with them, he is willing to pay 10,000, but maybe if you convince them, they can spend also 25,000. Because what happens that the project that is gonna build, that costs in lakhs on crores. Okay, if you are going to build even 100,000 1,000 square feet area, okay, that G+1 building can cost you easily around 20 to 30 lakhs. So it's in lakhs. And if you are doing an interior for that particular project and you are charging him 25,000 or 30,000, that is how much percentage is that? Like it is 1%, 30,000 of 30 lakhs. Yeah, 1%. Like if I'm not good in math, so whatever. So I think it's 1%. So that is very less considerable, but it is as well as important, because once the building is built, the furnitures are purchased and colors, everything is done. There is no back control jet or undo option. So you have to make the client aware of these things. Okay, that sir, these are the things, this is the value of our interior design. And if you are investing on a project which already costs you 20 to 30 lakhs, like why aren't you gonna pay why aren't you gonna like take risks of like not doing an interior design, and which will cost you almost 1% of the particular project. Okay, so these are the things. That's how you can pitch a budget or a number in your client's mindset. Then comes the client's income. The place where you'll be visiting, the way of talking. If you get do a prior research, this client's income may help you, or maybe even from his profession and business, you can lump sum get a idea. Because why income matters, not in terms of payment. Forget about the payment. Income matters because a person's income decides his lifestyle. So whether that particular person comes into HIG or LIG or MIG, if you already know those, like the high income category or the low income category and all those things, because
does it gonna matter when in part of design? Like if he's a highly income person, he may be like design ask for a higher rated design or kind of stuff.
No. Obviously not that. Like, what do you think that maybe even a person who earns in lakhs in month, maybe he's just want to do some furnitures or just the wall painting and all those things. That's why he hired him. Maybe even it is a very small project. But the thing I'm like telling you, the people who has a higher standard of living, they has a different choice than the people who has a daily to like the medium category or the lower income category. Everyone has a different lifestyle and different set of choices.
Yeah,
So
choice or like taste.
this, obviously this will help you understand that particular thing. Okay, it's very very common. Like if you are dealing with a millionaire or someone like that, obviously you can pitch him to go for Italian marbles and all those stuffs. Okay, but obviously even if you go to a person, the mid range or the people who earns like less than 30 or 50,000 in a month, you cannot like pitch them directly Italian marble or all those things. So you need to understand that. Okay, because what happens, it's not like you cannot give them choices, but if you start like in the beginning itself, if you start giving them choices of the tiles or the floors and materials and all those, which already like costs in lakhs, so it will be like burden for me. Like, okay, this interior designer, okay, he has a like really good choice and good taste, like he's very expensive, like I cannot afford these things. So the negativity builds in his mind. Okay, and it will affect in your dealing and all those things. So you need to understand his background. That's why I said in the beginning that if possible, do a prior research about the client or the project you are going to deal with. Okay, then their living style, obviously I already told that their living style will matter a lot. Then seriousness of the project. Now this is very important, because I have suffered because of this. There are a lot of clients who are planning to build a house since ages. Like, I'm not joking. There have been clients to me like who came to me and himself said that I have this amount of these things I need to build, do a plan for me, do a exterior designing for me, do a interior for all those things, and I already blindly started doing. Okay, he also paid me some amount for some part of the project. Then I moved on to the second part, obviously. Then he told us, okay, beta, I will do this after 3 years. Now I don't have a budget. Now here comes the problem. Okay, you have already wasted your time, wasted your efforts and everything. So first understand the seriousness of the project. Whether the client is just want to check your, maybe he's not at all serious about the project. He's having just hypothetical thoughts. Today night, he just came up with a thought that I should go for a dwelling building. I will build this kind of villa because he saw a picture on internet and he like dreamed that like I should have a villa like this. And he came to you and regarding that. Okay, and he also even gave you an advance of 5,000. Okay, and maybe the cost you discussed about, it will cost around 50,000. You charged him 50,000, he gave you 5,000, 10% advance, and you started working on that. Now in midway he calls you, okay, no, I want to drop the plan. and you can stop now. Obviously he will not take the money, or you shouldn't give him money, the money back, but definitely your time and effort, everything is wasted. Maybe you already almost 80% completed your work already. So that is the thing, you need to understand the seriousness of the project. So always ask the client, sir, when this project is gonna be built, or when this is gonna implemented, what is the time of the project, or what is the who are the people associated with this project. You can ask that even also, or you can indirectly ask that. Like you can throw some questions like this, so why do you want to do this project? Like if someone wills to build a house, obviously he's not coming from a jungle, he's already staying in a flat or somewhere else. So you can ask him that, sir, why do you want to build a house now, for whom you are going to build it? So these kind of questions, like these are very like indirectly help you understand the project more, like in a very great manner. In the future planning is also important, because maybe you designed something and gave it to him, then he plans that I wish to extend this room, I wish to make more extra 2 floors above the building. So obviously you have to take care of the foundations and all those are not in this interior designing part, obviously, but still you need to understand the future planning, what can be the extensions of this project that can even come in the midway of the project also. So ask something about that. Like obviously if you ask him that why you want to do this project, okay, or what are your future planning regarding this project, you can get answers to this. So these indirect questions are not asked, these questions are understood through the conversation. So you always need to be prepared for that. Okay, always ask questions and try to understand these things. Then coming to the very important part, that is how to charge properly. Okay, let me ask you all something. Whether you want to go through the course and learn at the end this particular thing, how to charge properly, or you just want to know how to charge and then learn the thing. Because I think that like if you first learn how to cook a food, then you should like you'll understand the value of your like what you have cooked. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? Like I think it will be better if you learn the things first, because then only you will understand that this much labor I have put behind this like coming like to get this particular result. So I should charge on this basis, or how I should charge this much. Or do you want to like learn it today itself? Depends on you. What do you say, everyone? Or you can just type in the chat box as well if you are not willing to unmute your mic. That's
as you suggest, sir.
See, like if you gonna tell me to talk about business, I can tell you the whole night, okay? Because that is something I'm like I take really interest. Even if like belonging from a technical background, I have not done MBA or nothing like that, but I'm still like willing to do it, but I'll do it later maybe, but I'm still learning these things because these are important.
I guess it will be better at the end.
You want to like learn it in the end. As you said, okay, how much time do we have left? Okay, we have 5 minutes today.
5 minutes more.
Okay, we can, okay, let me tell you in a brief, and again I will, okay, this will be fine. Let's today go through this in 5 to 10 minutes, okay? You will understand how to charge. You will decide your own price today itself. Then you do the project, and at the end, you then tell again that the price that you already charged, like in the beginning of this internship, is it justified, or is it justify your hard work? You can get a good comparison of your thinking level. Okay, so should I continue? Everyone is telling that as you suggest, sir.
You can
Priyam Raj, okay, later at the end. Okay, fine.
People want to learn the stuffs first.
Okay, I'm like quickly telling you the brief because we have already 5 minutes left. So basically there are
Sir,
pricing.
okay,
Hello.
sir, sir, I'm having.
Hello.
There is a
Hello.
network issue, I guess.
Hello.
Hello.
Clear?
Hello. Sir,
Yeah,
I am
we can
having
hear you.
doubt.
Yeah, sure. Ask. Okay, we will skip this part and we'll ask,
Sir,
like discuss it at the end. Yeah, your doubt, please.
sir, when the client comes to us and
Yeah.
he approaches us and asks for do a planning for him, and he just tells his requirements, what are the requirements he's having, and we start doing the planning, and how we should make him that how he will do the payment structure or anything.
I didn't get the question. Like a client has came
Sir,
to you,
we
he has told you the requirements, and you are gonna like
yeah,
how?
and
Yeah, that like you are
started
asking out the
planning.
amount. Like what amount should you charge?
Yeah,
Yeah, that
no,
comes
no.
under this, na?
How we should
How-
tell him that? Yeah,
Yeah, that comes under this part. How to charge, and what much amount to charge.
okay, okay.
Okay, I'm not gonna discuss today, but I can
No,
just show you
how
guys.
to?
Yeah, there are pricing strategies. If you
Okay.
understand these, these 7 pricing strategies, there are a lot of more pricing strategies, but these are the basic 7 strategies. Then I will tell you on my pricing strategies, that is value-based pricing. Then I will tell you that how much should you charge. So there are things that we can, because we have already the time is over. So if you have doubt, you can ask, and we'll like continue this charging thing at the end of the session, or even in the midway if you want, whenever you want. Okay. So tomorrow we'll be having our session with the architect Meenakshi ma'am, and she will be taking in charge of this particular thing. She will tell you the basics that you need to understand before just like diving into AutoCAD and start plotting all those things. So she'll be dealing with that tomorrow. She'll be having the session. And if you have any doubts, yes, please. Any doubts or any questions, or even you can share your like previous experiences, like how the client like approached you and what you charged, or if you felt that you have been underpaid or overpaid as well. So you can share that. Yeah, Pritika.
Yes, sir. So I wanted to ask, like you mentioned earlier, under the question, the exact need of the client. So what type of questions should we ask them to understand that? Like what is the exact? Can you suggest some
I
questions?
cannot like hear it properly. There is so much of echo. Can you type it, the question, quickly?
Okay.
Okay, anyone else have something to say or ask? Or even I think many of you guys are already doing freelancing side by side, so you can share your pricing or like your client interaction experience with us. And like how was today's session basically, and to get the feedback, because like
Pretty good.
I'm doing it my own way, the way I think everyone should be taught, because there are so many things it takes to become an entrepreneur. And if you want to learn all the things, you have to go through 5 or 6 different courses, and that each of them like of like you have to go through a technical course, a graduation, maybe it is architecture, or maybe it is civil, maybe it is interior design. Then you need to understand the things of business, so you need to do a MBA. If you want to like strengthen your technical skill, you have to go for a MTech or a mark. So but you don't need all the things that will be taught there, right? So if someone can like put everything little bit plate, that will be interesting. That's why this course is for you. Okay, Casolina, can you show the previous slide? Yeah, really. Okay, Pritika has asked, can you suggest a few questions to understand the exact need of the client indirectly? Okay, definitely. That is a good question. So exact need, okay, like what happens? The client will have came to you, okay. He or she have asked you that I have an office, I want to do the interior for it. That's all he's gonna save you to first, because you are an interior designer. He has came to you. He will ask you for that much only. I want to do an interior designing for my office. So first you need to like go familiar, little bit of familiar with him, and make him comfortable by asking him some questions. So what are the kind of like what can be the questions? That is your question. So you can ask him that. So, sir, why do you want to go for a interior design of your office? Okay, you can simply, if you have a single roomed office, you can simply, you are already having the four walls, you will be already having your shelves and all that. So why are you like willing to do interior designing for this particular office? Is it something that is really important to you to look your to get a look of your office aesthetically really good? Does the look really matter to you? Do you want to impress your client through your interior designing or the environment? Or like if you are having a like big office, maybe a 10,000 square feet of big office, then do you want to create some kind of environment inside your office? Is it like really important for your employees and all that to work under a certain kind of ambience and all that? Is that really important, or you are just wondering to go for an interior design because you have seen it somewhere else? You can ask him this type of questions, and these questions have an indirect effect. And what is that? When you ask him this kind of questions, he will think that I have came to Pritika just to go for an interior designing of my office, and now she is asking me whether I should really do it or not. Okay, that means she is really willing to help me. She's really willing to understand my concern, and then she's gonna help me. So that particular mindset will like keep you one step ahead of the other interior designers. That's how you can understand his exact need. There is one more question you can ask your client. Sir, if you are going for an interior design, okay, like I will charge in between this range, X and Y. You can give him a range. Okay, like for this much of setup, maybe I will be charging from this range to this range. Give him a big range. Okay, then ask him that, do you think that you will really spend this much of money for interior? Maybe you have something other like other requirements. Like, what are your exact needs? Actually, what are you trying to achieve by modifying your workplace? That can be a good question. What are you trying to achieve by modifying your workplace? Are you trying to achieve some kind of environmental, like the ambience effect and all that will like play some psychological effect, with the people working inside that? So that can be your questions. Like, am I clear to you, or like you are expecting something else, or any different kind of questions, Pritika? Yeah, okay, you understood. And one more important suggestion, that while you are giving a range to your client without understanding his complete intention or the complete project, don't never ever tell him that I have I charge for this kind of project in between 10,000 to 20,000. No, just tell him I generally charge for this kind of project in between 20,000 to 10,000. First, pronounce the bigger amount. These are all psychological stuff. If you pay closer attention to this, you'll get a pretty good idea about that. Always frame the bigger amount, then you tell that 10,000. Because what happens when you will say that, sir, for this kind of project, generally even though I haven't gone very deep into the project, but I can, in a overall idea, I can say that this kind of project can cost you 10,000 to 20,000, somewhere between that. So always he or she have a thinking in his mind that, okay, so this is the rent, 10,000 to 20,000. So the first thing that he heard, okay, that will be his impression, like, okay, 10,000 can be the budget. Nobody takes the higher limit always as the, the budget. Okay, so now what will happen if you say him it is between 20,000 to 10,000? He will have an idea, okay, it ranges between 20,000 to 10,000. Now if you charge him 18,000 for that particular work, he will not consider that as a higher price, because he already knows the limit is 20,000 and you are charging him less than that. So these are small psychological things you can note this down, that when you are framing a range to a particular client, always tell the bigger number first. Okay, Shuyasha, like don't get me wrong if I'm pronouncing the names. Okay, like sir, can you share some ideas about Vastu Shastra? Where can I get information about it? Yeah, definitely. I will again come back to Vastu when I'll be going for the theory of planning and all that. Definitely, I'll go through Vastu in very deep, because that is important. I understand from architecture and those planning point of views. Ankan, sir, can you tell me what about the Vastu actually? What's the reason behind this? Yeah, definitely. I'll tell you that there is science, basic science, and some people tell that this has come from the position of the stars, as you all know. But there is also a little bit of science, and if you can understand it by yourself when you will be comparing Vastu of China or Vastu of Japan with Vastu of India. This is a geographical thing. Like there is the rules of Vastus that the entry should be at the north side or the east side, or the northeast corner is the best for the entry to the house. So what is the reason to that? Okay, then why should be the windows be facing to the south direction and all those things? That completely depends on the geometry. I mean the geography of your location, because that is that idea or the particular direction thing has come from the the change of the monsoon wind. Obviously it's scientific, and it will change obviously if you go to Japan, because they have different kind of wind rotations and all those geographical stuffs. So there the position of windows and all those, that will be different. So there is some kind of science. I don't know. Either I can explain you all the Vastu concerns. I will tell you about those, but I'll try to explain each of them. Okay, like why this is south, why this is north, and all those things. But I'm not sure whether I can answer you all, because there are some considerations which are just randomly taken from the position of stars and all those things. So I need to figure out those things also. But I will come to you definitely. I'll try to give you a pretty good idea about that. The main thing is that Vastu should be considered. There are some positive things of that, and if you are getting a chance to consider your Vastu, like why wouldn't you do that? Obviously, it will not gonna obviously it can cost you money, because because of positioning of all those things, it can cost you money. But if the client is obviously concerned about that Vastu, you obviously have to go for a Vastu. And then there comes the problems like congestion and accommodating things, like in places, if I take an example for Mumbai, a small piece of land prices in crores in Mumbai. So obviously it's an expensive place. So people are not that much considered about Vastu in those places. They just want to get a small place where they can sleep, eat, and stay. So it depends on the client actually. And if I talk from a architecture point of view or creative person's point of view, you shouldn't consider Vastu because it can put a lot of constraint to your creative thinking, you know, because you will be imagining this and that. You want to put this because it will look aesthetically good, but maybe the Vastu will not permit you. And due to Vastu also, you have to predefine some corners of the room or some places of the room for particular type of rooms. So from that point of view, you should avoid Vastu. So it is up to your client and your thinking. And for Vastu, there are, you know, first preferences, second preferences, third preferences, like that. So obviously there is a flexibility. So don't worry about that. Like we can take care of all those things. And we'll be discussing this again in detail in the session where we'll be talking about the theory of planning. So the part 1 is already over. I mean, the client dealing part, some portion is left, the charging part that we'll discuss at the end of the internship, or at least when you like complete one modeling at least. So we can, if you don't have any further questions, we can
Hello, sir.
end it. Yeah. Hello, Apu.
Sir, how to convince a client? Sir, how to convince a client when we done everything, planning and everything, and he rejects our planning and tells us that I didn't understood it. So how to charge him?
Yeah, see, that again comes at, you know, you are asking me questions from the last part. Okay, I'll answer you. See, there will be at the very beginning of the project, you should make like clear to your client that my planning and all these things will be, there will be maximum 3 revisions or 5 revisions. And you should always do that, always, irrespective of the project, irrespective of the money you are charging, even if it is a small project or even if it is a big project. Because the reason is, when you frame your client that sir, I can go up to maximum 3 revisions, or if you are starting for new, you can go like give them 4 options, like 4 revisions. Okay, what is the effect to the client? The client had this thing in his mind that I'm gonna spend X amount of money and I'm getting 4 chances. So I'm not just gonna play with that architect. Okay, like even if I'm asking him to some kind of changes, he will think twice or thrice before coming to you. So it's not like someone is playing with your you know, patience. He will consider his opinion twice or thrice before coming to you, because he only have 3 chances in his hand. So you need to make that clear that for this particular project, I'm gonna sit with you 3 times. Maybe we will have 3 times and 3 revision sessions. You can tell that 3 meetings in terms of like you have completed up to certain portion. You can meet him and like tell him that I'm thinking of this. What do you think, that what are your suggestions? If you're gonna tell me like your parking and all those things will be like this direction, then I can do this. Okay. And one more very important thing I actually forgot to mention. Thank you for like asking me this question. Always try to, I should add this point, you know, in this slide. You can add it here, how to deal with client. Always like make your meetings or conversations or client dealings in such a way that the client feels he or she is already involved with you in that particular project. Are you getting what I'm telling? For suppose I am the, you know, architect. Just assume that I'm an architect and you are the client. Okay, you have came to me regarding a project, and I have like we have agreed on the particular price and we are gonna work on that project. Okay, so I will always try to involve you in taking some decisions on my planning. So what will happen in the client's mind? He will obviously always be aware of the things that are like being taken place in your drawing or in your design. So he will consider that, okay, I am also part of this particular designing process. I am also working side by side with the architect. Then what will happen when we'll finally submit him the project or you will give him the final presentation, he is already aware of the things that you have changed. he is already aware of the decisions that you have taken. So at that time, he will not have so many questions. Okay, so I will just add this point. You can also write this, that always try to take the client throughout the process. जो process तुम follow कर रहे हो, you always bring your client and carry him throughout the process. Make him involved. Okay, so make him or her involved, but don't get him like too much involved. It will ruin your project, obviously. So like he will take here the test of your patience. But like before taking some major decisions, like in what orientation the staircase maybe, or all those things like stuffs, and just making aware of the things that, okay sir, I'm doing this kind of, or like I am going for a if he doesn't have a particular choice of furniture, you just first obviously make him aware of the things. Okay sir, I'm going to design minimalistic furnitures for you, and you can see that these are the examples. Okay, so what will happen before making all those furnitures in your 3D modeling software? He will have a choice. You don't have to do something and again redo it. It like reduces a lot of effort. This is very important like point. I don't know how I missed this. Always try to take the client throughout the process, make him involved, and that's how your final presentation gets 80 or 90% chances are increased to get accepted, because the client is already aware of the things that is going to happen. So it is nothing new. Or else what happen, even if you design very good or very aesthetically pleasing design, then also he can like tell what is this, like I cannot understand this. So you ask that now, that client generally tells that I cannot understand what you have designed. So if you take him to the process, through the process, he'll definitely understand you. Am I clear to you, Apur? Basically,
Yes.
thank you for asking these questions, because this is really important. Yeah, hello Arijit. You have any doubt?
No. Yeah.
Okay, fine. So if you guys don't have any doubt, we can end the session, or you like want to say something else, or you have any kind of more. Krishna, I am very fruitful. Okay, it's very fruitful session. Waiting more to add my learning. Definitely, Krishna. Definitely, we'll learn so many things, because the people who have hired or taken in this particular internship, they are already experienced. They are doing this particular thing since years, and obviously nobody is a software tutor. Okay, so everyone has some kind of past experience regarding that. So they will be basically sharing their experience. Okay, not the commands. That's what I can like say from my end. Okay, so thank you all for like attending and listening to me. And one more interesting topic we left today that we'll cover in the last. That is the pricing, on which basis you should charge, how much you should charge, and all those things. And in between that, I'll also like give you some kind of suggestion and share my experience and all that. And definitely, I would also like to say, the people who are already doing freelancing or side by side these works, do share your experience, because I also always love to learn, because there is like no limitation to learning, right? So I always love to listen to your stories, and because that will also give me a different client's point of view and experience. So it will also be an internship for me as well. Okay, thank you all. Thank you very much for attending the session. See you soon on next day at the same time. And like hold your excitement. Tomorrow architect ma'am will be joining us. How committed is the client? How well do I know that? How can I understand? Okay. Okay, how committed the client? You can like understand it from his attitude, basically. when you are like throwing him some kind of XYZ amount, like, sir, I have done similar kind of project for this value in the past. You can see his reaction on the face, how he's reacting. You can understand from that whether he's willing to pay you that much amount. Okay, so you can understand from the conversation as well. From the conversation itself, you will understand whether the client is at all serious or not. Okay, whether it's not about like being affordable to afford a particular budget, because everyone is affordable to go for a 5 to 10,000 for a particular project. That is, the 1% or 0.5% of the particular total project cost. But the thing is, how much value you are showing to them through your work. You cannot sell your product, right? This is not a product, but a service, I can say, because there are two kind of things that you can sell. One is you can the physical products, and the other part that is non-transit, the services. So you need to understand that thing. You need to make a certain value of your product, the service you are providing, and we will also include this in the charging session. Okay, thank you everyone for joining this session. Hope you have a pretty good idea. And like, this doesn't end here. Obviously, I will also suggest you some books at the end of tomorrow's session, which you can also follow to get a pretty good idea like me. Okay, and you can also enhance these skills, because these are important. At the end of the day, you have to earn the bread and butter, right, through doing what you love. So you need to understand the business, you need to understand the market, because this is not food you are going to cook and eat. You have to sell it anyhow. So that is the point. So thank you all for attending this session.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
I think it's time. Everyone is sitting here. Okay, it's time for dinner. Okay. See ya. Bye.
Yeah.
Okay, sir.